On the agricultural side, it is alleged that there's 4 million hectares which are government-owned. That combined effect, in the meantime, will be continue to move with speed in land redistribution and restitution. State-owned enterprise, the issue that dominates the discussion is the issue of good governance and corruption, matters that need to be attended as a matter of urgency. On the Reserve Bank, let me give you some discussion. The discussion is not new. The discussion started while Jill Marcus was the governor. Interesting, it didn't come from the ANC at the time. It came from unions such as NUMSA and so on the fact that this is an anomaly that an institution such as the Reserve Bank should be in public hands. The proposal agrees that the independence of the Reserve Bank should be guaranteed in terms of the Constitution. In fact, the resolution takes directly from the Constitution that quotation that it should be guaranteed. But there's general agreement that the anomaly of a Reserve Bank that is still in private hands is a problem. It's an anomaly. And I must give you this and say, since its formation in 1921, most banks, central banks, were in private hands. But generally, there's been a trend, a movement away from that across the board, particularly that started in the 1930s. And South Africa has not followed that trend. It's still sticking to the framework of the 1920s. That's on the Reserve Bank. On the financial sector, generally, there's the role of the DFIs and what has people been calling for the State Bank. Generally, there's no major discussion there, because in any event, some months ago, before we come to conference, I think at the beginning of the year, we've been exploring this notion, and there's a committee headed by the TG working in this regard. A key element is also the issue of concentration in the economy. That issue, we've got to speed up radical economic transformation and change the concentration. A critical area which is the issue of financing development and the role of the financial sector in this regard. A proposal is being put forward to explore the potential, the possibility of what is called this thing, prescribed assets. Black economic empowerment centers on two aspects in particular. The first one is to ensure that while we are supporting the centralized procurement, there must be broader representation of the other departments in that sector. Secondly, the legislative framework has got to be changed to take into account developments in procurement, with a specific reference that we've got to make sure that the targets for empowerment are increased in the procurement sector. Manufacturing. Clearly, we've been making decisions in this matter. When I looked at the figures by state SA, starting from 2013 to 2017 quarter, there are 17 quarters of that manufacturing has actually performed well in 5 of those 17 quarters, 12 of which were negative. And clearly, if we want to make an impact on employment, a special focus to manufacturing has got to take place. Skills. To summarize the effect, if you look at the unemployment figures, the majority of them are young people. Our attention is to go focus on what is called NEETs, not in education, not in employment, and not in training, a massive program for vocational training in that regard. We will be developing a program. In that program, we'll invite the private sector to work with us. And we will approach to Minister next to me and discuss these issues in NEDLAC. We want also to improve the efficiency of the public infrastructure spending. What do I mean by that? Is that there are too much leakages, in the sense that there's too much of an import component in that regard, and therefore why not make an impact on employment. We can talk about trillions and trillions unless we make sure that those trillions are consumed in South Africa. There will be no impact on employment. We want to improve the efficiency of that. There's beneficiation, which is a normal term, and sometimes I get problematic because since 1992 we've been talking about beneficiation, but there's little impact. And in this regard, the proposal to make sure that that is in fact achieved. On the mining side, there will probably be a couple of issues. But let me sing out what you want to hear about is the mining charter. Let me take you a step back. We've never had disagreements about the targets. We've never have much disagreement about the beneficiaries. What is being contested is the design, in the form of whether a free carry should be available whether it should be a state or available to free individuals. That's a contested terrain. On the taxation side, reaffirm the decision we took in the NGC to explore the possibility of a wealth tax. The possibility of a wealth tax. And secondly, I'm going to come back to it. And secondly, among other things, two other taxes which the Commission expressed a little bit of a worry that we need to do some work and look at the employment effects. On the sugar tax one, people are saying, okay, one of the things, it's got health effects, obesity, employment, balance those things. There's already some study which is being done by NEDLAC. We await that. Our view is that pending that study and the finalization of that program, and in NEDLAC we should proceed. The monitoring and evaluation. A key element which every day was pressed by a lot of delegates is that we come into conferences and make decisions, but lately in implementation. In this regard, agreement is that we've got to make sure that we strictly hold our deployees accountable and develop systems of making them accountable. There were other operational issues that were raised. I don't want to go into detail into that. Let me just say one issue. Having said what I said about the mining charter, is that broadly the objectives of the charter are not contested. We're all agreed in that regard. As I've said, is that the design and is the issue is the design. May I stop there?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks very much. As we agreed, we will now allow Kotongwana and Comrade Mildred Oliphant to leave. We shall gather outside. We will take you to the main hall for plenary, which is an open session, after which they will come back to take your question. And we'll deal with the last question, which is now, they just finished the discussion at commission. We agreed. Kotongwana is coming back here to answer your questions.
If I'm still in good health,
Thank you very much. I suggest we meet outside and then we'll take you to the plenary. You are factional now. No, you are factional.
Uti,
We don't mind missing the plenary.